Welcome,
Welcome.
Housewives of True Crime Monday time.
Yes.
Now we're matching, by the way. Both have white
I know
tank
we
tops
are.
on.
We are. Yeah, we are matching. Mhm.
Well, welcome to Monday edition of Housewives of True Crime, where we tell you a true crime story. If you have not heard us before, the first 7 minutes approximately, we tell you about ourselves and what shit has happened this week. And we do say bad words, sometimes not a lot. So just be prepared. Little ears probably should not listen to us. It's my disclaimer
Whatever.
this week.
Yeah. Okay. She does that a lot. It's annoying. Okay. Forgive her. Okay. So what's the happening?
Well, I was just telling you that I was at tennis and I've been playing like real crap lately. So
Mhm.
my self-esteem is down. And Gretchen was telling me that it's not my self-esteem, it's my ego.
Yeah, I think she's full of herself. Sometimes I think she needs to get a ball or two pelted at her. Oh my God.
Well,
You know what I just did?
what?
I'm so
You got
inappropriate.
balls that pelted at you?
No, but see, you're just as 12 as I am.
I
I
know.
was I was driving by my neighbor's house and our kids play volleyball together and she said,
Mhm.
"Oh, my girl got hit in the face with a water bottle, so she doesn't want to go to volleyball because it's still swollen and,
God, come on.
she's afraid of getting hit in the face." And
Mhm.
I just like scream. I'm like, "No one likes to get hit in the face with balls."
And that's totally fine for you to say, but then you know
But then
where
it's
your head
not.
goes.
Some things I should keep to myself,
No,
you know?
it's true. I mean, my kid hates getting hit by baseballs, like it is true. You're just
Mhm.
thinking with your little twisted
A
mind, like a
12-year-old
12-year-old
mind.
mind, like a 12-year-old boy mind. But okay. I have a PSA this week, by the way.
Okay, do tell.
I got a Facebook message and it had the little Facebook logo and it had basically a screenshot case number da 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 you're in violation of our rules and regulations. And here's the reason why. And it was like hate speech, I don't know, like three things. And I was like,
Okay.
what? Like, okay. I mean, like we do true crime podcasts. So like I'm not saying that maybe they got it twisted. I mean, we definitely don't do hate
I
speech,
know what you're
but
thinking.
like
You're like, why is it me? Gretchen's the one with the potty mouth, always talking about balls to the face and stuff.
no, but it's on Housewives site.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
so I also, it's part of our Instagram. And I'm like, dude, we have built this for 4.5 years. Like, and it said, you're going to be removed from Facebook within 48 hours if you do not contest this and appeal it. And I'm like, oh my God, like we cannot be removed because this is our business and our life. Right. So I'm like flipping out. So Sean calls me. I'm like filling out all the stuff. I'm like, here it is. Here's this, blah, blah. Sean calls in the middle of it. And I guess I answered like in a real bad mood. And he's like, what's wrong? And I was like, nothing. He's like, well, why are you answering the phone like that? And I'm like, well, okay, fine. There is something. They want to remove us from Facebook and Instagram. And he was like, what kind of link did you click on? And I sent him the link after I already filled out all of my information, like my phone number, our password, every fucking thing that they asked for. And it is a fraud. Okay. So if you get a thing to your Facebook that says that you have been in violation of their rules and regulations, do not click on it and do not fill out all the information because it took me a long time to have to change all of our passwords and all of our stuff again.
Oh God. And I hope you kept notes of that shit because this is a difficult part of our lives.
Oh, girl.
Okay. Well, listen, it's something in the water. Okay. Because my husband recently, we're making a purchase. He's
Mm,
shopping around interest rates.
okay.
Apparently he decided to do one of those internet searches, and maybe he didn't feel like giving his phone number, so he gave him the wife's.
Yeah, my
Since we
husband does that
started,
all the time.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
since we've started, I've probably gotten 10 robocalls. They will not stop.
Oh,
I
like
have
in
it
a
on
day.
silence. Oh
Oh.
no. Oh no, it's every single minute.
Oh, you mean since we started recording
Yeah,
today?
since we started recording. Yeah,
Oh my God, girl.
I'm gonna kill him.
He's in
Right, I'm gonna kill
trouble.
him.
Yeah.
Okay.
He is in big fat trouble.
Also, I'm in a real bad mood because he made me get a new phone. I did not want a new phone. He made me do it. It took a long time to get it to work. I was real frustrated about it.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. He's trying to do something nice for me, but I'm also like, actually, what you're doing is making my life more difficult. But
You gotta
I
redo all
sucked it
these.
up.
Yeah. Put all the passwords in again and all that. It's just not fun.
Ain't nobody got time for that. Okay. But I've been pretty cool. I've been sucking it up, right? Because it's like, oh my God, he never, he doesn't even go to the grocery store. So like ever. So this was okay. But then today, you know what happened? My Wordle was gone.
Oh
My
no. Do
Wordle
you
that
do
I
it every day?
every morning.
Oh no. So you don't have like
Now he must
start
die.
over.
I was on like a 75 in a row streak.
Oh,
I'm like,
no.
I was going to make it to 100. I don't give a shit about having to redo every, application. Wordle, you made my Wordle go away?
Oh, that's sad.
Oh my God, it's the worst.
That's sad. I'm sorry.
It also is really unfortunate that today is when he did it, because today's episode is one of those ones I might want him to listen to because it involves fishermen and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But now he can't.
He can't listen.
Yeah.
I know. We have those sometimes where I'm like, oh, this would be a good one, but you should definitely not listen to it.
No. Yeah.
Okay, so I have two pieces of business. Somebody asked us what our friend's podcast was, the 911 calls, and it's called Music City 911. And so check that out. Also, somebody, and they wrote it where I couldn't respond. So I have to respond here and I apologize. But somebody had not liked what I said about on our last episode. Alyssa Turney's dad said she had ADHD and made her ADHD problem a very big problem. And I kind of made light of ADHD. And she said I had no idea. Okay. I did make light of Alyssa's ADHD because her sister, who knows her well, and her teachers and all the research I did basically said she didn't have it. And that even if she did, her dad was making it a bigger deal than it really was. That's why I said it that way. I personally know everything about ADHD and how hard it can be.
She really does, guys.
And so I have been to therapy 5 days a week for fucking years. So I do know, and I feel for you if you are dealing with it and you have a child or yourself deals with that disorder. And I know it can be really freaking hard. So I apologize that it came off like I didn't think it was hard.
Well, you know what? It could or it couldn't have. Let me tell you. Here's the thing. I think that it's worth having this conversation that we're having right now because we do read everything you say. And so we will address whatever. But also, we all take things in, differently,
Mm-hmm.
I have had, I'm sensitive to the autism thing because I have a child who's autistic. And I have written a podcaster and said, I don't like the way you said that.
Oh, you're right.
And
I remember this. This was years ago.
Yeah, it was years ago. But she wrote me back and, said like, I didn't mean it that way. And I went back and re-listened and I was wrong. I was in a certain kind of frame of mind when I heard that comment, and the way I heard it in my head was different.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
maybe, it's fair for you to say what you said, but, maybe in fairness, also, maybe somebody was in a state of mind that they didn't hear it.
Yeah. And I think it is hard when you deal with something that is so challenging and somebody does make light of it.
And we all have our things that we're sensitive about. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. All right. So that's my two pieces of business for the day.
Okay. Well, let's talk about something more lighthearted like murder.
Okay. Let's do it.
Okay. Today's case is one that speaks to me because we are in October, which is not only spooky season, it's also lobster season in SoCal.
Oh, yeah. You know what other season is?
What?
Some people do sober October.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's also Rocktober.
Oh, that's a big thing in Oklahoma, right?
Yeah. So Speaking of Oklahoma, I'm going to Oklahoma next week.
You're just going to Oklahoma a lot lately.
I know.
You just keep getting away. You're trying
listen.
to penetrate my family.
And I'm going to maybe see your family there.
No, I'm going to keep you guys apart. I don't
Oh.
like it unless I'm there.
Okay.
Okay. Anywho, I love lobster. Also, if you didn't know, I love boats. Love boats and lobster.
No.
Okay. Well, in Nova Scotia, where this case actually takes place, the lobster season doesn't start until November, but whatever. Okay. Here starts in October. It's a big deal. Okay. Nova Scotia seems like my jam. I have never been, but I love a quaint little fishing village and people that have accents, right?
Yeah.
The accent up there is amazing. There's a large French speaking population.
Yeah.
And it's kind of mixed with this like
A.
Minnesota-esque thing, like like fella. He was a fine fella, but not like that. Like I just did a terrible,
Didn't
thing.
like an Irish accent.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, but I just love it. Okay. So the Isle of Madame in Nova Scotia population is a whopping 4,000. And, it's just one of those areas people like me flock to. I saw lots of cute Airbnbs listed there.
It's really cold. I could just tell it's really cold there.
Yeah, I like that. I like to bundle up, look at the ocean, sit by a fire in the cold, eat good seafood. Lots of people like me do. That's why there's lots of Airbnbs there. Tab would not come visit me if I moved there. Okay.
No, no, I'm not gonna. At least I'm honest. Seriously.
Oh yeah, no, it's true. Well, I mean, I think for people like me, we tend to like kind of like glorify areas like this when we vacation there. We think, gosh, this just seems like a charmed life, great place to raise children.
Okay.
Yeah. So outdoorsy and shit. And for many people, I'm sure it is, but that was not the case for Phillip Boudreau. Phillip was the youngest of 4 children. The family was poor. The father was abusive. According to the book Blood in the Water, the abuse was well known. The father told one of Philip's teachers he beat him with a 2x4.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say wooden spoon. Like,
no.
Holy shit.
So Philip managed to grow up functionally illiterate. It's not an excuse, but it's not hard to see how those circumstances that led to him going down, a life of crime, right? Didn't have a real good shot out the gate. By the age of 43, he had a long record and reputation. In addition to doing things like stealing tools and equipment or whatever, Philip was known to poach lobsters. How that works, if you are not familiar, is first of all, to be able to commercially catch lobsters, you have to have a license to do so. And in Nova Scotia, having a lobster license is like winning the lottery if you can get one. The licenses are so coveted, they are passed down generations. A lobster trap looks like a big basket attached to a line and a buoy. And each of the buoys has like the person's initials or some kind of identification on it.
Right.
So all the lobster fishermen can set their traps and they're all identified. So there's no confusion. Well, Philip had a little speedboat named the Midnight Slider, which is like a shady boat name, by the way. I don't like that. Okay. And he would go out and pull people's traps and take the bugs. Bugs is what cool people call lobsters,
Yeah.
Okay. So
I can see how that's easy to do, by the way, because I have been lobster fishing or whatever before. And like, you set the traps and
you can get a recreational. Yeah, you can get a recreational license. Yeah. Okay. So he would sell them, right outside the market for half price what they were asking for inside. And there's all those people like me in the quaint little fishing village
that will buy it.
Yeah, right.
What a deal.
Yeah. Okay. So the thing with poaching lobster is obviously it's a real dick thing to do. Yeah. But an even bigger dick thing to do is to cut the line so the whole trap is lost.
Oh my God. Yeah. That's like asshole.
Yeah.
Like, fine. You want to steal one of my lobsters? Okay. But
the whole
make
trap,
it so like I can't even like do my own
recover
business.
your trap.
That's bad.
Yeah. Well, Philip was he was a jerk like that.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, in the Nova Scotia, apparently, if you would say call the fisheries department up there and complain about someone poaching or whatever, when they would investigate the individual in question, that person apparently has the right to know who made the complaint. Well, if you complained about Phillip, he would go and cut all your traps to ensure you wouldn't make that mistake again. It's real shitty. Those fishermen work so hard, and that's how they feed their families. It's a real honest living.
Mm-hmm.
People that defend Phillip's behavior say he was a product of his environment, that when he was growing up, the men in town would tell him things like, go get me a generator. And he would. He'd go steal one and bring it back for them. And he liked the attention and validation and cash. And so combined with, his like stellar home life, he became a ruthless man who would commit like crime all the time to survive. They say he would get caught at times just so he could go to jail for the winter to be warm and fed.
Mm-hmm.
When he wasn't locked up at 43, he had to sleep under the table at his parents' small home. Phillip's defenders are few, but they say he was kind to animals and old people. But I mean, no one tries to say he didn't have a way of making enemies. He would get into it with people all the time. And it would usually end up with him saying something like, go fuck yourself. I'm going to go burn your house down with your children in it. And then I might rape them. I mean, that was just Phillip. It's like diabolical. I mean, this was regular. Now, let me tell you about some of the people that would pay the price for Phillip's less than ethical ways of getting his hands on some cash. First, there is James Landry. He's in his 60s and he's raised his family on the Isle Madame. He made his living as a fisherman, mostly lobster. He is well respected in the community. When people are asked about him, they describe him as, easygoing, always a smile on his face, didn't have a problem with anybody. James has a grown daughter named Carla. Carla is married to a man named Dwayne. They also have children. They both worked for a fuel company until 2005, when Carla's father, James, offered to them to take over his lobster license and boat named the Twin Maggies.
Mm-hmm.
They became the boat owners and put in the sea time and the courses to captain the boat, which I know is very intense,
Mm-hmm.
and had been living a nice life of, a maritime family in Nova Scotia ever since. James now worked on his former boat. So daddy is now a deckhand and his son-in-law captained it. Craig Landry was a cousin of James, and he also worked on the boat as a deckhand for Carla and Dwayne. He was married to a woman who worked at the local corner store who would often see Phillip selling his poached lobsters to people out front. And, so she would come home and tell her husband, Craig, about it. He knew about Phillip and his shenanigans all too well, just like Dwayne and James, who, they all worked together on the Twin Maggies. The crew of the Twin Maggies had recently been suspicious of Phillip because they had had 30 of their traps cut. Phillip had actually bragged about cutting their traps previously at the corner store to Craig's wife because he said he didn't like Carla because, of course, she had called the fisheries on him. And so he would probably be cutting more of her traps before the year is through, just cuz. So even though James already knows good and well that Phillip is the one who had cut the Twin Maggies traps, he calls up Phillip's brother Gerard and asks him about it. James and Gerard had been longtime friends, and Gerard's house had a view of Mackerel Cove where the traps were set. Gerard had a fishing boat as well. He didn't operate it on the water himself anymore because I guess he had like some amputations because of his diabetes, but he was always watching the water from his home. So he would be in the know. So anyways, James called him up and asked him if Philip had been out on the water. And Gerard, Philip's own brother, said, yeah, he's been out there a lot. According to Gerard, he said, well, that's his last day on the water then. Gerard didn't really think much of the remark because he says he was pretty used to people threatening Philip, and James agrees that that phone call happened, but he has a different account of what he said. He says after Gerard verified Philip's been on the water, he said to him, well, what am I going to do? He's back at it. He's cutting the traps. What am I going to do? And Gerard said, there's only one thing that you can do. Get rid of him. So just remember that. We will circle back to which man's statement we believe later. Yeah. So on the very early morning of June 1st, 2013, the twin Maggies was out checking their traps. At the same time, Philip was out on his boat, the Midnight Slider, checking some of his brother Gerard's traps because Gerard had asked him to. The twin Maggie's crew spotted the Midnight Slider right at Mackerel Cove, right by their traps. So they beelined over to him. Easygoing, James got hot as they approached the Midnight Slider. And he asked the deckhand Craig, load the rifle. Craig did and brought the firearm out to the deck, thinking the men were going to retaliate against Philip by shooting around him, and giving him a good scare. This does not surprise me, right? Does it? I mean, it doesn't. My husband is a boat captain, not a fishing boat captain, but he'll tell you, like, don't F with the fishermen, you just don't, right?
Right.
We've heard some stories. So these four men were all on the water that fateful morning, and James fires on the water. You got to imagine that when that first shot was fired, they were all thinking like, we're going to show him. Then he fired twice more, and one bullet struck Philip in the leg. He had been screaming, don't shoot, I didn't cut any of your traps. And now he was screaming, you motherfuckers, you broke my damn leg, James was not done yet, but he was out of bullets. Philip tried to speed away, but the outboard motor on his speedboat was caught in some lines. So he's kind of at their mercy.
Dude, that happens to me sometimes.
It is, don't let the lines fall under the boat is a big deal.
It is a big deal. Trust me, my husband gets real pissed.
Yeah.
Real mad.
Yeah.
So
that'll do it.
Usually a ski rope, but it doesn't matter what it is. If it gets around that propeller, it's the end of it.
Yeah. So Dwayne drove the twin Maggies close enough to Philip's boat for James to grab the bow line with a gaff, which what a gaff is a big scary hook. Okay. Like a real big one. Dwayne attempted to drive away with Philip in his boat attached, but Philip managed to pull a knife out and cut the attached line. Well, this just angered the men. According to Craig, who says he could hardly look after the bullet hit Philip in the leg, he was so scared by how things escalated that he shit himself, literally.
Oh.
When Philip cut the line from the boat, James yelled to him, run him over. Dwayne rammed Philip's boat several times in an attempt to sink it, while Philip was still pleading with the men to stop while holding on to a floating gas can in the water. While Philip's boat was filling with water, James directed Dwayne to circle around to where he was floating, and this time he used the gaff to attach to him and directed Dwayne to drive slow so he could drown Philip. And that's what he did.
Dude.
Craig grabbed an anchor and the men tied Philip to it and let him sink. Then they circled.
Nice.
That is awful.
Pretty brutal.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal. And I mean, pretty heartless. Right after his, lifeless body sunk, they circled around and continued checking and setting traps for the day. Just business as usual. While they were still out to sea, the local authorities got a call that there was an overturned boat floating around, and it might be worth investigating because it appeared to have some serious damage to it, and there is what might be a bullet hole. They determined it was Philip's vessel, and a search for him began. When the crew of the Twin Maggies came in that evening to the marina, someone noticed that the men had something wrapped in a blanket with them. They called the authorities to tell them they had heard about Philip's boat, and you know what? The Twin Maggies just rolled in, and I am thinking, since they're not fans of each other, what might be in that blanket was a gun. Well, actually a big rifle, which of course is what it was, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it did not take long for Craig, James, and Dwayne to start to worry that people were going to be able to put the pieces together. And so they needed to get the story straight. And they met with a lawyer. The story they went with was that the day before, Philip was driving like a bat out of hell and collided with them. And that's why there might be some of the paint from his boat on their hull.
On theirs. They have to.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But after that happened, he took off and they hadn't seen him since. Carla, Dwayne's wife, as the co-owner of the boat, was, included in this conversation. So the laws are different in regards to having a right to an attorney and that like ending an interrogation in the Canada. Okay. Mm-hmm. From what I understand, you have the right to remain silent, but they can keep the questioning going as long as they want, with or without your attorney present. So they had all these men had agreed on the story, and Carla, and they had met with an attorney. And the attorney told them, listen, you guys, with no body and no statement from anyone, they can't prove anything. So that's the plan. Well, 4 days after Philip would no longer be seen, the men were interrogated, and they did everything they could to get them to talk, everything that the attorney had warned them about. He told them, you know what they're going to do? They're going to make it hot, and then they're going to make it cold. They're not going to feed you, They will appeal to your good nature, but whatever you do, just don't crack. Stick to the story. Well,
that's really hard for people. It's not a true story. It's really hard for people.
It's really hard for people.
Yeah.
Well, Craig and Dwayne didn't crack, and they're all interrogated separately. Okay. But after 15 hours, James did. The thing about his interview, which I saw clips of in the documentary Murder in the Cove, is you can see why he was so well liked in the community. I mean, he comes off like a real genuine guy. I mean, I like the way he talks. He seems real nice. I have a real, soft spot for the like salty types. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I would have let him go for sure, but they didn't. And, that interrogation just went on forever. And I think what got James to crack was that, for one, he was the trigger man, and he was also the grandpa of the group. He
felt a little bit of guilt.
Yeah, he felt guilty, and he doesn't want his son-in-law or his cousin to take the fall.
Yeah, but were they there?
They were there.
Well, then they take the fall anyways.
Yes, but he wants to be like, I'm going to take the brunt of it. Like, I don't want them to go down. I don't know. Okay, listen, I know it sounds kind of bizarre and wrong, and rationally it is, but the moment when he cracked, I found kind of endearing. He's been like put through the ringer, and the detective says to James, like, just tell me, do you regret it? And he just looks up sadly and says,
yes.
Yeah, I regret all of it.
And
then he confesses the details of the day. He was then arrested along with Dwayne and Craig and his daughter. Now, here is the part of the whole saga that I think is just kind of thought-provoking and that is when they were all arrested at their bail hearing, all kinds of members of the community were there to post for them. I mean, everyone. People were willing to put their homes up for them because
they were loved in the community.
They were so loved in the community, and they felt that killing Phillip was justified. So
I don't know if
story,
it's ever justified to kill somebody unless you're protecting your family from getting killed. Okay.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Then
I don't think
I'm
it
okay
is.
with it.
Right. Yeah, I agree with it. I agree with it, but with you, but I think they were terrorized by his criminal activity.
Yes, and I agree with that. I think that,
And so I just think it's definitely something to think about, and it's moving. Okay. So the story was widely sensationalized in the media with headlines that said murder for Lobster, which was infuriating to the locals. And I can understand their point of view because it's demeaning to their whole way of life to say this just happened over a lobster.
right.
It kind of insinuates that they're like backwards and uncivilized.
Right.
I'm not justifying the murder by any means, but I do think they were put in a position because the fisheries enforcement failed them, as well as law enforcement. So they took it into their own hands because after years of this shit being terrorized by this man, they knew a phone call reporting Phillip again would only end up in more headaches and heartaches, or in hardships for them.
Mm-hmm.
The people backed up these men's actions in the name of, vigilante justice. So how do we feel about that? I mean, if law enforcement
wasn't doing
them,
anything. Yeah. Right. So they took the law into their own hands, but I don't know. Couldn't they? This is like so bad. Couldn't they like just have started tormenting him back in a different sort of way? I don't know. Like that's kind of just like silly me talking, but I don't know.
I don't think that the murder is justified, but
of course it's definitely not. Like you can't kill somebody.
No,
but what if you can like, I don't know what the right thing to do
I'll tell you what,
there's no right thing to do. Like, because even tormenting him the other way, it's like, oh, what, that's tit for tat. Come on, I like try to teach my kids not to do that.
And this guy is ruthless. Yes, this guy is completely ruthless. This guy is screaming things like, I'm going to rape your children and burn your house down.
Yeah, so he's a bad guy.
He is a bad guy. My husband, nicest guy in the world. You said something like that to him, I'm not sure what he would do.
I know. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So they had like a Dexter approach to this guy, right?
Yeah. Didn't Dexter gets away with shit because he plans it out, and this clearly happened. This was not planned.
So you're saying secondary murder. What did they get? What'd they get?
Murder on a whim gets you caught.
Yes.
Right.
But it should also get you less in the clink. It usually does.
It usually does. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it did in this case.
What was their sentence?
Okay. Well, I'm going to get to that. But so, the opinion around town was that, locals thought he deserved to die, but they just felt like how they did it was wrong.
Okay. What you should like, how should they have done it? Like put some, arson, or they should have like put arsenic in his coffee. They should burn him down. What should have happened? What's the nice way?
I don't know. Is it okay to murder someone with a quick bullet to the head, but it's not okay to drown them? I mean, I do think drowning is more wrong, but I mean, they're both pretty wrong, right?
Yes, but I have heard that there's some sort of euphoric feeling when you're drowning. Have you heard that?
Okay, I think you might be confused with. No, I don't think there is any euphoric feeling when you're drowning. Is when you are like scuba diving and you're going down too deep and you're breathing in nitrous oxide.
Yeah, I know that. Well, yeah, I don't know. I could have been thinking that. I was just going to look it up. I mean, I think these things that I look up might be red flags. They're like, what? So it does say, but it says that peaceful feeling is the part of euphoria most people feel before you die. If you die by drowning, I would say it is one of the more peaceful ways. That's just, I mean, I've read that before.
Oh, well, that is news to me. But I don't think like, I mean, he was drowning while being drugged by the back of the boat.
Yeah, I think that sounds pretty awful,
It
actually.
does sound pretty bad. Yeah. There is a thing, with like what I was thinking of is like with scuba diving
I
is
don't
it's
know.
called narcosis. And the
Yes, I
farther
know that.
down that you go, you become like more delusional. And that is why a lot of people will just keep going down instead of slowly coming back up. And that
Yes.
results in them.
hmm I
I have
I
some
have
experience with that.
yes, unfortunately you do. You definitely do. And I have definitely heard that, but I can understand that because you're breathing in a gas that people sometimes use for a drug.
Well, yeah, I mean, but it can happen to you. I mean, obviously, I'm not like chemistry smart. I mean, it can happen when people either scuba dive with nitrogen or compressed oxygen,
hmm
and it can happen. Narcosis can happen in both cases.
Right.
But
Yeah.
okay. So, anyways, we're thinking it's wrong. But what could they have done? What should they have done
I
when they
know.
caught
That's
him?
where I don't know. I don't know. You
Yeah,
could torture
I don't
him,
know.
also against the law. You're not allowed to torture people,
Right.
but
And
you
and
could.
they probably would have gone to jail for that. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So it is just a lot to think about. Well, after James's confession, Craig got a new attorney because they'd been sharing an attorney. So now he needs his own attorney, right? Okay, who advised him to make a statement, which he did and was presented at the bail hearing. In the book, Blood in the Water, which I appreciated because the author was the local. So I think he had a real pulse on the events.
hmm
He brings up that it is very possible that the story I told you, which is considered, the real true story, might not be entirely accurate because it's possible James took more responsibility than was his to protect the other men,
Which is what you
and
said.
which is possible. I think very possible. I mean, I think even if he did it, he took more responsibility
hmm
because he didn't want the other men, you know, to be held accountable. And the opposite for Craig, he took very little responsibility, possibly to ensure, his own lack of liability
Right.
for the murder, right? Well, Philip's funeral happened. It
Mhm.
was held. And what I found surprising was that it was a full house.
Oh, I was going to ask you. So there were people that liked Philip. I mean, it wasn't like the,
Well, it is a mixed bag because it included like his parole officer and former cellmates, and of
Mhm.
course he had lots of, relatives around, but also many locals because they say when you live in a village, that's what you do. Doesn't matter if
Oh,
you liked them or not.
oh,
Someone dies, you pay
okay.
your
You
respects.
just, okay.
When the events that led to Philip's murder became kind of accepted in the community, it became more divided, you know? Like it's one thing to say in the moment, but when it like sinks in, someone's really dead,
Mhm.
people kind of change their way
Right.
of thinking. And I think it's also easy to kind of glorify someone too once they're
Yeah. Hello.
gone.
Yes, of course.
Okay. And there were old people who said that, Philip wasn't always what he had become,
I'm
and they
sure he
were
wasn't.
so sorry. Yeah. And, and still there were others that, felt so bad for the men involved and said that, Philip's murder didn't happen soon enough. So, despite James's confession and Craig's statement, they all went to trial, including Carla, who
Oh,
hadn't done anything but own the boat, right?
yeah.
The trials began in November 2014, and James was found guilty of manslaughter, and so was Dwayne. Carla's charges were dismissed in 2015,
Okay,
which
good.
good, right? Craig was found guilty of being an accessory to
Accessory.
murder.
Okay.
Mhm. James was sentenced to 14 years minus time served.
Mhm.
Dwayne was sentenced to 10 years minus time served, and Craig was sentenced to 2 years probation.
Okay.
What do you think about
And
those sentences?
so I think that's fair.
Well, in 2018, just 3 years into their sentences, James and Dwayne were released on parole and resumed fishing.
Why? Just because they're like a celebrity, it's like they walk in and they walk out
No,
from their
I mean,
sentence. No.
we haven't done like a lot of Canadian cases, but and so, I apologize to my neighbors to the north, but I don't think y'all are very hard on crime. I mean, Carla Homolka comes to
I know,
mind. I
right?
feel like there was that
Yeah,
other
what the
chick that
hell?
worked at the public market. Like, I just don't think they do a long
They
sentence
don't
there.
take it serious. It's like Brazil, they get out for
I
like a
mean,
couple weeks a year just to like hang out with their family.
it could
Um,
just be what I cover, but so
no.
I could be
Yeah.
wrong, but that is, I mean, I don't know. But I also don't know any of their statistics. Like maybe they have a whole lot less crime.
I don't know about that. They have a whole lot less
I don't know.
people, that's for sure. The
That's true,
population in
right?
Canada is way smaller than the United States, but yeah, so I don't know. But so now they're out. So they probably think it was
Okay,
worth it.
well, are out until James died
Oh.
a year
Oh
after his
no.
release
Okay.
from cancer.
Well, that's a big fat bummer.
Yeah,
Or a
it
big
is.
big fat karma. I don't know.
I don't know about that.
I don't know. What kind of cancer?
I don't know. I mean, I really wouldn't wish cancer on anyone. It's
Dude,
the
me neither.
fucking worst.
I just did the this genetic screening because I
Yeah.
have some cancer that is known. So you guys, actually, this is all so another PSA, speaking of cancer. If you have cancer in your family, a lineage like your mom or your grandma and your aunt, like anybody in your family, if there's enough, you are able, your insurance will pay for you to get genetic testing. You just have to ask your doctor and they will send you to a specialist to do it. And I mean, it's up to you really, because then it's like telling you if you have the genes for cancer. But I think for me, it was like, I want to know so that I could be more prepared and get tested more often.
That's good.
Yeah.
I gotta just go to my annual. I keep getting those phone
Oh,
calls.
girl.
I
People that
can't
listen
like
to us from the
pre-cancer
beginning,
screening.
from the beginning, definitely know that it's, we're like,
Uh,
did you have a mammogram recently?
well, not
You
since
know,
I did get one, but I haven't gone since last year.
October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Also, we
Yeah.
did not speak about that. And that's probably the biggest deal of all deals for October. So I'm telling you now, like, if you have not, Gretchy, had one in a year, then now is the time. And all of our
Yeah.
disco biscuits out there, go get your annual
Your
checkups.
disco boobs
Yeah,
squeezed. Yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm just after Halloween.
squeezed, pumped, prodded, whatever.
Milked,
It's not that bad, by the way.
motorboated.
It
It
really
really
isn't.
it really isn't. I'm just am terrible at making important things priorities, but I'm really good at,
Watching
I'm
reality television.
listen, it's going down on Sister Wives. Stop talking shit. People love to write me about it.
I know.
You can write me about it all day. I could talk. I have a lot of opinions about it. Okay. Anyways, back to the story at hand.
James.
Okay.
James is passed away. Maybe
James
him and
passed away of cancer. Okay.
maybe
So
he's not getting tormented in heaven. Or maybe he's in hell because he killed somebody. I don't know.
I don't know. I'm just not going to judge or consider
Okay.
what
You
happened.
don't
Okay. I
judge.
mean, I think he asked for forgiveness, right? I
Okay.
mean,
Yeah.
he was real sorry. He confessed,
He
right?
was. Yes. Yes. I
He's no
think
F and O. He's no OJ. Okay.
right.
So in the beginning of this, remember I asked you which statement do we
Oh,
believe?
right.
If we believed that when
If he was
James said he called to verify, he called Philip's brother about cutting his traps, he asked the brother
right.
Gerard, what should he do about it? And he said, get rid of him.
Maybe the brother did say that.
I think he did. I believe James. I don't think James would make that up.
Yeah.
I think Gerard doesn't want people, including his own family, to believe the last thing he said to the man who killed his brother was
he should kill him.
Go ahead and kill him.
Yeah. In not so many words, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you're right.
I mean, it's just a real.
You guys tell us too. I'll put that on the Instagram and the Housewives group. If you don't follow us on Housewives of True Crime group on Facebook, now is the time. It is where it's at if you want to have a lot of interaction with us. Also, we didn't talk about this, but our bonus episode this last week, Gretchen did a bonus crime. So go listen there. And we also gave you a little update on the Electrical International Brotherhood of Electricians Union. So from last week,
A fine group of fellas.
a fine group of men doing the good deeds for all the electricians out there. But really, if you want to join our Patreon, our bonus, Clink Clink Club, all of the above, that you can find on Apple, Spotify, or on patreon.com/Housewives of True Crime. It really does help us out. And you get a lot of content. You get one extra episode a week. Usually it's kind of updates about what's going on in our lives on a deeper level and crimes that are happening on the daily. For instance, we would be talking about the Natalie Holloway situation. How, we'll probably go deeper into that this next week because
we definitely
it's
are
a little freaking bananas.
Also, I want to talk about, I am going to watch the Jada Pinkett Smith interview.
Oh, yes.
Also, Brittany, our girl, is spilling a lot of information, and we have a lot of things to talk about regarding that.
Have you pre-ordered
over? What is that phrase? With things I need to unpack.
Yes. So we'll be talking about all of that. So if you have not listened, listen there. Also, thank you so much, everybody, for your orders on 5 Crimes and with our products. We have gotten so many of you loving it, and I think we're just about sold out right now. We should be back in business with all of our supply back in the next few weeks. But I really want to just thank you so much. That is so awesome. You guys are great, and we hope that you all enjoy it, and we'll keep going with it because it is really magical stuff. And if you haven't checked it out, go to 5crimes, FIVE crimes.com and see us there. I think that's it. Is that it, Gretchy Poo?
I mean, I would just like to correct you a little bit in saying that it's not that we hope you will enjoy it. We know you will.
Oh, okay? It's true.
Okay.
It's true. By the way, my friends here, they're like, hey, can I see your stuff? Do you have like a sample or something? I'm like, girl,
out, boo.
I'm out. Everybody's out. Like I do not have any more. And I used it all. The freaking shower shit is like so good. I can't even get enough of it. But
I know.
Like I'm out. So I'm sorry, even to my friends. I will be getting it as soon as everybody else does.
That's right.
All right. So that's about all for today. Have a super fabulous week, and we'll catch you on Thursday for our bonus episodes. Clink, clink.
Clink, clink.